Yeah, I rise to take a call as the arts spokesperson for the Green Party. And I'd also like to acknowledge, before I start on Clause 2, that today is the Declaration of Independence 1835 Day in Aotearoa, New Zealand, which people seem to have forgotten. It's a shame that Warners didn't actually negotiate with the United Tribes, because on this day in 1835 they signed a declaration saying we were a sovereign nation. The United Tribes said we were a sovereign nation, but today we have reduced our level of independence. So coming to Clause 2, timing. The commencement date for this bill should be delayed. And the reason why the Green Party would like to see this commencement date delayed, with or without royal assent, is that the movie hasn't been made yet about this. We need to not commence this bill. We need to not commence it till we've hired George Clooney, because George Clooney is the perfect person to play John Key. He's done a really good job on those kind of characters in the past. I also believe we should not commence this date until we've hired Paris Hilton to play Kate Wilkinson. It's a small part in the movie, but Paris would do a fine job. I think we should also consider the date in reference to commencing. I think we should consider the date because it's very important we get the right people involved for this movie. Because you can see the movie now, we need to get it commenced when we've got the right. We've hired Meryl Streep would be a fine player for Helen Kelly. Meryl Streep with a black wig. You know, you can see it now. She did a really good job on the Dingo movie. She could do a great job on this. And if we're going to commence, we need to make sure that we've got everything in place. I actually feel that Warner Brothers could play themselves. Warner Brothers are acting now. They've acted in their own interest and they could play themselves. We should not commence this bill, Mr. Chair, until we've actually hired Robbie Coltrane, who could do a fabulous job of Jerry Brownlee. I mean, you can see it now. Robbie is a fantastic actor. I think that Robin Malcolm could play herself, and there are many other people who could play themselves, but there will be a film, there will be a T-shirt, there will be a movie. And before we commence this debacle tonight, we should make sure that we continue with a really ridiculous fantasy world that the government has drawn us into under urgency in attacking the rights of workers. Time is actually a very important issue for people working in the film industry. They're interested in the commencement date because they are already stressed by an industry that takes a lot of their time. And I have many friends in the industry, and they love working for film, but they don't love having very few rights. And so they are concerned that this commencement date will actually make it more difficult for them in the industry to get their rights as workers. Because when you do not get lunch breaks, but you get a party at the end of the year, time is a big issue for you. It's a long time to wait for decent working conditions. It's a long time to wait for decent lunch breaks. And all you get is a party with a lot of champagne at the end of the year. And that's what the working conditions in the film industry are like now. And thanks to the government and this absurd urgency and this abusive process, it's going to be more difficult. And also, we should not commence this bill, Mr. Speaker, because I heard the ACT Party talk about the real agenda. And the ACT Party, of course, like to wag the dog, but the dog's happy to follow. And the ACT Party is very clear that this is not just about actors, it's about all working people and about reducing them to a contractual relationship where they do not have rights. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to say, before we commence and before there is any royal assent, we need to remember that this is a ludicrous situation and that many people are laughing at this country right now because there does not need to be a law change to keep this bill. And in fact, I wish I'd been able to speak on the previous pause because I thought we should call it something like Feeble Negotiators Bill or the Harry Potter and the Poison Chalice Bill, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to turn into an absolute joke. And so I'm looking forward to the movie, and I'm looking forward to the commencement date being delayed so that we can commence to return to sense and we can commence to commit to sovereignty in this country. And I'm sure Warners are having a good drink at our expense tonight, but there are a lot of people around this country tweeting and Facebooking and saying, as the wonderful Otara Millionaires Club said, how bizarre. And I think that's really where we're at tonight. We're witnessing one of the most bizarre theatrical experiences, which will make a great film. And we should commence this bill once we've sorted out what's really going on. And if we commence it, we'll have to change it.
I call